Hello everyone! The weather is getting colder and colder every single day. And it's nearly Christmas, right? Have you got yourself any Christmas present? Well, Christmas is basically the best time of the year. Except for Tet holiday, of course. But I do enjoy Christmas. I enjoy going to stores, finding some cute decorations to decorate my bedroom, and especially find myself the best Christmas present. And today, I will show you what I got for Christmas. And today's video is going to be special because my present is kind of like a hint for you to guess what's this video all about. So here is my gift. I actually got this book. I have no idea why I bought this book for Christmas since I only got 5 minutes. 5 minutes to choose the perfect Christmas gift. So basically, one of a very special woman in my life. She's how do I call her? My aunt, probably, because she's not really a relative in my house. And she actually took me to the mall to buy a special Christmas present. And we went to the bookstore. At that time, the mall nearly closed. So we had to, in a rush, we had to hurry to find the best Christmas present. So that's when I went to the book section. And there's a lot of English books I like. And I came across this one, which is The End of Men. It's a thriller novel. It's it's kind of like a futuristic novel. The year is 2025 and humanity is under threat. Men are dying, but women remain safe. As the sickness spreads to every corner of the globe, people fight to protect the men they love against all odds. So that is basically the content of the book. It's kind of like a futuristic novel in the future. And I just love reading this book. So have you guessed what is today's video is going to be about? Of course, it's going to relate it to books. So today's video is that I will share to you how to find a book to read. Because a lot of you may be asking, I went to the bookstore. It takes me a very long time to find the best book to read because I don't know which book to choose. Because how can I know which one I will like when I haven't read them, right? That's the issue for most book collectors and for most people who go to the bookstore and cannot find a book they like. And secondly, I will be talking about how you can actually learn English through reading English books. Okay. So first off, how do I find a book in under 5 minutes when I only got a very short amount of time to find the book? The first thing that I always do is that I walked around the bookstore to find the book I like. How do I do that? First of all, I will go into the book section. So firstly, you have to ask yourself, which kind of book do you like? Because you cannot really choose a book when you have no idea in your head which kind of book that you like. So for me, I asked myself that question, and it turns out I love reading futuristic novels or some children's book like this. So I went to 2 sections. Firstly, I went to the children's book section, but I cannot find a book that I like since I already got all of those books. And then my other choice is to go to the novel section, and I find the futuristic novel section. So remember, the first thing you should do is to ask yourself the most important question when you go find a book, which is, which kind of book do I like? And if you cannot answer that question, it's not going to be good. So I hope that you guys already have the answer. So I'll ask you right now. What type of book do you like? Ooh, interesting. Okay. So after you have found the type of book that you love to read, the second thing you should do, of course, is to go to that book section. And then after that, the first thing you should do is to look at the cover, the book cover first. Since you know that the book cover is always the thing that attracted you the most. So when I go through, I see this one. thing that attracted me is the X, the cross, and the very thrilling, very scary novel, The End of Men. So the first thing you should do is look at the cover, right? Because even however good the book is, the cover is the thing that will actually attract you the most. And after you look at the cover, you started to select the title to see which title attracted you the most. Because, of course, let's be real here, in a forest book, there will definitely be one title that attracted you, and it actually works for me. There are a lot of futuristic novels, but this novel actually attracted me the most, even though I have no idea what is the content and what is the story all about. So I read the title, which is The End of Men, and I feel interested. After you have kind of like find a book that you are that attracted you by its cover and the title, you started to flip over. And of course, in every single book, it will has a cover for you to read what is the content and what's the book about. And you started to read it, and if you find the book not so interesting, go do the same thing all over again until you find your best book. But if you think this book is for you, then you are okay. You have found the book you like. So after I read the content, I feel interested because it's a futuristic novel. The year is 2025. And ta-da, I have found the book I like. So those are all the simple steps that I take whenever I go to a bookstore and do not know which to choose. If you like self-help book, then just go to the self-help section and ask yourself, what do you need right now? Do I need on how to overcome my stress, or I want to make more friends? So ask yourself that question. Okay, so let me say again, what are the steps? Step 1 is to ask yourself, what type of book do you like? Step 2 is find a book cover and a book title that attracted you. And step number 3, start to read the content of the book to see if you like it. And if you happen to not like the content very much, then skip it and find another book. But if you are a person who want to be more careful of the book you're choosing, I recommend you do a quick research before you actually buy it. For example, for me, before I buy this book, I actually do a quick research online, The End of Men review, and I read a few articles to see what they think of the book and to see what the readers who have read this book think about the book. And those were mostly good reviews, so I buy the book. But if the reviews are kind of like bad and not a lot of people like it, then you have to kind of like reconsider whether you should buy the book. But that does not mean you cannot buy it if you already like it, right? Okay, so those are all the simple steps on how I choose my book in a bookstore. Okay, so now let's move on, is that how you can actually learn English through reading books. Because a lot of people are wondering, or like my friends have asked me, how can I learn English through a very thick book? I can get bored very quickly. And it's like very true, because in the past, I used to learn English. For example, I read a page. It usually takes me a very long time to finish a book. Even I finish a book in a year because, between reading the book and versus like learning English through that book. Of course, when you're learning English through that book, it'll take you a very long time, right? So that's how I learned in the past versus now. So in the past, I usually have this page right here and I read. And if I came across a word that I don't know, I will kind of like search the dictionary and write it in the book as well. But there's a problem. There's a problem if you guys are doing the same thing, is that you can easily forget the word because after you finish, you can flip the page. You flip the page and you read another page. In this book, there's a lot of new words, right? Especially like a very hard book like this. So after maybe, let's say you finish kind of like learning and reading that book already, are you sure that you're going to remember every single vocabulary that you have taken note inside this book? The answer is no, right? How can you remember? So I will share to you how I learned English through reading books. So first of all, what I usually do is that when you learn English through a book that you love, it'll be easier. The first thing you do is select a book your level. For example, if you're a beginner or if you're an intermediate, I suggest you to choose an easier book. For example, let me see, this book maybe. So this book is I love this one. It's a children's book, a teenager's book, and it's called Lily Alone by Jacqueline Wilson. And basically, you see inside, the letters are smaller and you can learn more. So first of all, if you are considering learning English through reading books, then don't just pick a book that maybe it's too easy or it's too difficult for you. If you pick a book that maybe it's your level and you can learn more, right? And maybe you learn vocabulary through that, but you can also learn a lot of good English structures through the book too. So first thing you should do is to select a book your level. It's very important because you do not want to end up with a book that's too easy for you or a book that's way too difficult to comprehend. And the second thing, after you have finished selecting a book, the first thing that you should do is to get yourself good equipment. You will need kind of a good dictionary and a pen and a piece of paper. Those are all necessary. So when you learn English through reading books, I suggest that you will read around maybe probably 5 pages a day. Yeah, only 5 pages a day because you cannot just learn half of the book in one day and then after that you completely forget about that book altogether. So you'll have to start easy. Start easy until difficult and kind of set yourself some goals. So my goal today is to learn at least 10 words. 10 words through the 5 or through the 1 page maybe. And I have this one tip is that in a book, there will be vocabularies that is important for you and vocabulary that is unnecessary for you. Why do I say that? For example, I open a page and there's a word that I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if there's any word that I do not know in this page. Okay. Oh, surprisingly, there's nothing. Oh dear, let me find another page. Okay, let's check, for example, I do not know the word journal. So I have no idea what journal means, and that word is important because it's related to my study. But, for example, there's a word that is a little bit too scientific. It's a name of a disease. Are you sure you want to learn that word, right? Even if I know that, will I be able to use it in my daily conversation and maybe use it for my test at school, right? I will not need that scientific word of a disease. It's not necessary unless I became a doctor, unless I became a nurse or I go to medical school. For now, it's not necessary for me. So what I am implementing here is that when you're learning vocabulary, you have to consider which word is important to learn and which word is not important. If there's a word that it's not important, it's too scientific, I still suggest you to check it up on the dictionary or on Google because you will still learn something new. But it's just that you will not, it doesn't matter whether you will learn it or not. So for me, when I learn a word, I have to consider the meaning and I have to consider its usefulness, whether I will learn or not. But it's too scientific, I will still research so that I will know more about it. But it's just that I will not remember and write it down. So now next thing is how to learn vocabulary through a reading book. So I think number 1 I usually do is to take sticky notes. Even though it's an old-fashioned way of learning, I still think it's a very useful way, and that's what I always do right now. Or you can actually create a list of the words that you have learned a book. So for example, in this Lily Alone book maybe. So after I finish reading it, I will create a list of the words I don't know, and I will review it every single day. Because the problem is that now lots of people, they read a book and they find out what they don't know and they write it in the book. but will they review it? Because reviewing is very important. And you will have to use that word in the context of the situation inside the story as well. So that's basically how I learned English through reading books. And I mean, it's a very, very plentiful source, very kind of like unique and interesting source to learn vocabulary and to learn grammatical structures from. I mean, there's another way that I usually learn vocabulary is by practicing it. For example, there's like a word that I really like. It's called griggle. So when I was little, I do not know what griggle means. And until I read this book, I know what griggle means. So I try to remember it and I try to kind of like act out what it means. So I know like body language and acting it out can actually be very good in learning English as well. So that's it, folks. That's all the way that I learn English and how I choose a perfect book in the bookstore. Bye for now.